Our MacVoices Live panel wraps up what they would like to see and wouldn't like to see in a desktop Macintosh redesign. This is MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by TextExpander by Smile, the makers of world-class software. Visit textexpander.com/podcast to learn more and download your free demo. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this is a second in a two-part discussion on MacVoices Live about Macintosh redesign of desktop machines, Mac Minis, iMacs, Mac Pros, etc., etc. In the first part of this discussion, the panel got just hung up a little bit on some new hardware that one of the panel members got, but then settled into an evaluation of touch bars and whether they make sense on desktops and where panels should be placed and what features should be added or removed to desktop Macs. So we're just going to go right back to the panel and let them pick it up. Okay, so
sorry,
I'm surprised though that certain things haven't come up here. All right, I'm surprised. Kelly was dancing on it a little bit, but I'm surprised that Touch ID for the iMac has not come up. I'm surprised that that facial recognition,
because I think it'll be Face ID.
Well, Face ID, Touch ID,
to be sure, they're going to give us
gesture.
They're finally going to give us an updated FaceTime camera. My M1 and the 2015 laptop behind me have the same FaceTime camera in them.
Doesn't the iMac have a nicer camera?
Spoiler alert, it's crap. I think it might, but
I just upgraded from a 2013 and it's the same one.
Okay, so it's 13.
You watch Chuck Joyner and Jeff Carlson, all webcams are crap.
All webcams are crap. But
you didn't quite say that, Jim.
I mean,
I just watched that. You definitely said that, or Jeff did.
Well, I just did another video show today, and I'm here to tell you that my 1080p webcam is crap. But the fact remains, because the iMac has the room to put in more camera, it's certainly going to be thicker than an iPhone. And you know what they can pack into an iPhone? Face ID. So I think it's entirely possible that Face ID will become an option, and then that's how they're going to get around the whole we can't put Touch ID in an external keyboard situation.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because
it's going to be Face ID, because they're just going to bypass the whole why would you use your thumb like a caveman when we can just scan your face. I want it very much to be something in an external keyboard because I want it to be something, but I don't think even if they did that it would work with a computer that already has a keyboard. So buying one of those isn't going to solve my laptop issue that we talked about at the beginning of the show.
And right now, Apple keyboards go for anywhere from $80 to $130. Now, you want to throw in a Touch ID sensor, you're probably looking at another jump of anywhere from $20 to $50.
I also hate typing on that keyboard with the white hot intensity of 1,000 suns. So there's that too.
So
but how
Jeff,
do you feel? 1,000. Really? 1,000?
Jeff, I want to get you back in. I understand what Kelly's saying. I have to wonder though, and I'm probably going to get run out of town for this, but should there be a touch bar option for a desktop, an iMac or a Mac Pro?
Absolutely. If Apple wants this to be a thing that they continue to now, Guy, I totally get the barf thing because right now a touch bar it's like the redheaded stepchild of Apple interface. And I say that as a redhead, but I'm not a stepchild. Never mind. Okay, well, anyhow. So if Apple wants the touch bar to be a thing that sticks around, they need to make it a thing that's available on all of their computers and not just their laptops. So you don't have to put the Touch ID thing on the keyboard if you're going to bring Face ID to everything. But if you put that touch bar on, now you have a tool that developers can actually embrace. Right now, it still feels to me like the touch bar is kind of it's seen as a gimmick that some developers are supporting and some are not. And honestly, my touch bar doesn't get used nearly as much as I would like because I leave my laptop in closed lid mode because I'm sitting at my desk indoors for the past year.
Do developers ever really take to the touch bar? Because I remember the thing was supposed to be that when your app was made, the special things would come up in the touch bar. And I don't think a lot of people took to that.
Well, no, I'll tell you as soon as Brittany's done talking.
You can't use it on all your on all the Macs. You're now catering just to a subset of laptop users.
Niche, yeah.
As a developer, nobody's asking for that. So
okay,
that might be the ultimate catch-22, isn't it?
You know what's also surprising? We haven't done night mode in our app, and nobody's asked for that either. Not one.
I feel that's going out of favor.
Dark mode.
Right.
I
You mean on the Mac, right?
Yeah,
on the Mac. Yeah.
Okay, I know more people have taken to it on iPhone than on the Mac, but so I work with regular people.
We're sorry.
Anyway.
How'd you end up here?
Muggles.
They hire me for my Apple expertise. So, hi, Teresa.
That's how.
And anyway, I don't think she'd mind. So different people do that, and so some of the people I've talked to who have a touch bar, just because that was the Mac they were going to buy right then. That was what was available. That's what they were going to buy. And I've asked, like, so how do you feel about the touch bar? And they don't hate it like, the nerds do. But it was sort of like, do you use it for very much? I don't think so. Is sort of what I get.
You know
And
why?
A lot of people use it just for volume and brightness.
And that's it.
you could do with the physical ones.
Great for
I've never had one to experience it myself, but the people I've worked with haven't been using it. And it is one of those things. Could it be cool if developers used it? Yeah. Do I worry about my particular clan of people and having things moving in their peripheral vision? Yeah, I do. I worry about that a lot, but I haven't had one, so I don't know how bad that actually is.
That's a fascinating point. I hadn't thought about the fact that the touch bar does change depending on what you're doing, and that could be a distraction.
My tribe of folks tend to be a little bit more
Hyper focused.
Easily distracted.
Well, no. The neuroscience sort of looks like what's happening is that the attention networks are diverted based on certain types of things. For example, if somebody is born congenitally deaf, their peripheral vision and movement vision are more highly attenuated.
Right.
And that may or may not be true in folks with ADHD also, who might be a little bit more battle ready. Anyway, that part of it is not as good at science. But at the same time, do I notice that my peripheral vision, when I'm not in hyperfocus mode, gets really sidetracked? It totally does. And I haven't had a touchboard experience myself. Maybe I should do that just so I can write a paper about it. I don't know. But it has been a concern of mine.
I wouldn't say I'm happy with it, but I'm not unhappy with it. And the experience it gives me is, so the machine behind me is 2015, an early 2015 MacBook Pro, Retina, no touch bar. And it was the first to come with the Force Touch trackpad, where the whole trackpad was the clicker. So it wasn't the diving board, and we got a whole presentation about it. And how
that was another thing I wanted more developer buy-in on, by the way.
And that was exactly my experience with it. Was like the only time I ever got any feedback from it was like if you drag something around in Keynote, when it gets to the middle, you can feel it sort of snap at you like you're at the middle, like horizontally or vertically. That was like it. And then there were a couple of other things where you could maybe get some haptic feedback from the trackpad on something. But really the biggest difference in it was just that it was the same amount of pressure to click it at the very top close to the keyboard as it was at the bottom very close to the latch. And for the most part, that was the mileage I got out of it. And I was like, when we saw the presentation, I was super jazzed about it. I was really excited about what it meant. Jeff and I probably talked about it on TDO. It's going to be awesome.
Probably.
This is what it's going to mean. this is how great this is going to be. Like it's going to kick the door open for all kinds of awesome stuff that developers can do with user feedback in the app that they're using. And sorry to be technical, but
nobody used it.
It went nowhere. It did nothing. And I feel the same about the touch bar. There aren't a lot of people taking advantage of it aside from Apple with autocomplete like you get on your phone, and in Safari. I do see it in Safari, like all your open tabs show up kind of across the top, and it's little things like that.
They're on the screen already. Isn't that redundant?
Yeah. Final Cut and ScreenFlow are pretty cool.
Yeah, ScreenFlow is nice, but I haven't spent a ton of time in ScreenFlow, and I don't use Final Cut, so I haven't seen it in those. But like Apple's taking super advantage of it, but they're like the only ones who are. And I don't know if it's because like I don't know any developers who have worked on it expressly to tell me it's really complicated, it's hard to get right. I don't know what to put there because I don't know what's going to be useful for people if they have a touch bar. And I think part of the issue is like we were talking about, you're excluding a bunch of people. Like if you spend a bunch of time developing touch bar features, nobody with an iMac and nobody with a Mini is going to be able to use it.
And that's kind of Jeff's point.
Yeah.
I think from a developer point of view, it's not super complicated, but it does take work. And the problem is you can't build anything that doesn't have, it's got to be an alternate, because anything you put in the touch bar won't work on most computers or a lot of computers.
Right. And every developer is excited to build something twice.
Right.
Once for the touch bar and once without.
No, they're not.
Well, what I think one thing I hear though from and Brittany, I'm kind of blown away by Brittany's point because I really hadn't thought about that. But I think maybe what I hear is that we need a touch bar switch that can turn the touch bar off if you don't want it, and if you do want it, because is anybody here using Better Touch Tool?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I honestly settled on Better Resize Tool, and I was fine with that. So,
well, Better Touch Tool can do some really amazing things to the touch bar if you set it up right. So that's why I guess I use it in Final Cut. I use it for a number of different things, and I feel like it is a very useful part of my MacBook Pro. There are times I wish I could have it for an iMac, and I can't. But here's one other point that I wanted to bring up, and especially among this group with a bunch of podcasters. How many people here have a Stream Deck hooked up?
I know that would be useful.
Oh, I'd love to have it, but I don't have enough stuff to do.
I think what Chuck is going to say is you can make your touch bar work like a Stream Deck.
Yeah.
Or right. So that's sort of my point.
I'm listening.
Well, the idea is that there's a touch interface that is programmable that has buttons on it. And you have it strewn across the top of your MacBook or MacBook Pro right now, and you're saying, we don't need it, I don't like it, I don't use it. And yet there are people out there that live and die by the Stream Deck. Call Brett Terpstra. He just bought a couple months ago, I think he bought the one with 30 different
He also can
keys.
make Better Touch Tools sit up and beg more than anybody else.
Well, that's true, but Stream Deck is not hard to use, and that's sort of my point is, and now, oh God, this is
I've
so
watched
dangerous.
Brett Terpstra turn lead into gold only using his mechanical keyboard. So I'm here to tell you, if Better Touch Tool can do it, it's because Brett found a way to make it happen.
But I'm not even talking.
What were you going to admit, Chuck? You're going to admit something embarrassing. Go ahead.
Well, this one, I hope we have enough time left in the show. But the inevitable question of a touchscreen iMac.
I don't think it's inevitable. I don't think it's a thing.
No, I mean, the question is inevitable, not the touchscreen iMac.
Oh, yeah. The question is always inevitable, and the answer is always no.
But the Stream Deck is useful. No. Jeff. Do
you remember when Steve Jobs did the whole presentation about why we don't have a touchscreen Mac?
Sure.
And
he also said we'd never have a video iPod.
Yes, but
that was marketing.
They were very different presentations of why. For the video iPod, it was no one wants that, and bad experience, blah blah blah. With the no touchscreen Mac, I mean, he talked about how they did a lot of research into how people use the computers and what they're touching and what they're doing when. And what they found was that he called it breaking the plane, where you went from the horizontal plane of your keyboard to the vertical plane of your computer. screen, and he said people got physically fatigued very quickly, and there were productivity issues, and I mean he went through several reasons why.
That was a long time ago.
It was.
I don't think any of it's wrong though.
But human anatomy hasn't
iPad.
changed that much in the last 10 years.
Yeah, and when was the last time you hung a 27-inch iPad vertically in front of you and then and then tried to interact with it with your hands?
I think the iPad, would be the iMac would be the last Mac that might ever get, but I don't think the hard line about touchscreens is anywhere near as hard as it was, especially now you can run iOS apps on a Mac. I mean, that's crying out for touch to run those.
Don't forget all of the people that are potential switchers that have gotten used to touchscreen windows. Now, did they fall in love with their touchscreen windows? I'm talking about my mom, yes, because their trackpad sucked hard. Yes, they did.
Okay, yes.
But it feels very organic at a certain point to do that, especially for things like a quick scroll, things like that we are accustomed to doing on our iPads. But Chuck, you had a really good point about the touch bar, and I think it applies to this too. You're a little bit in trouble anytime you have your interface differ too much from one model to another. That means your iMac doesn't have touch bar or your external display doesn't have screen touching, but the other one does. And that has nothing to do with whether or not Apple will do it because they keep doing it in ways that infuriate me. But you need to be careful about that because what you're not training your audience to do is to do that new thing. As long as touch bar was not on all the things, it wasn't going to be adopted as thoroughly by the types of people who switch from device to device.
Yeah. And, part of what made the iPad so easy for everyone to adopt is because it was all the stuff that you did on your phone on a bigger screen. So people were familiar with it. I know what apps are. I know how
I told my dad.
I know how to swipe back and forth between the things. I know how to do all the stuff I need to do. And, earlier I mentioned people who had Windows machines and upgraded to an iPad as their new computer. And that's a thing that part of what makes that possible is these are folks that have an iPhone because, their cell phone aged out. They got an iPhone. They got familiar with their iPhone. They know what it is, how it works, how to put stuff on it if it doesn't do what you want it to do now, and manage all of those things. And so when it came time to get a new computer, why wouldn't I get a computer that works like my phone? Makes a lot of sense for a lot of people who have very lightweight needs.
And I think
remember as well, the iPad, basically, you can put that wherever you want as a touch device. Whereas when you're looking at an iMac, that iMac is always going to be pretty much at eye level. So you have to raise your arms, you have to raise your hands, and you have to, if you're going to manipulate the screen, you've got to do all that. With the iPad,
it's crazy easy to say do that for an iPad, which you can use do with that with a Mac laptop, MacBook, like you could with an iPad with a keyboard, right?
You could.
That's easy. Once you're moving to this big screen, it's going to be complicated and harder to adapt or harder to adjust to.
If you took away the mouse or the trackpad. But look at the other way around. For years, Apple was always like, oh, we're never going to have a pointing device on an iPad. That's never, 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 ever, ever, never going to happen. Right? Isn't that what they said?
Yeah. And it was never going to have a stylus.
Did they say that?
Right. Everybody comes with 10, remember?
Yes, they did say that. They said that to developers. They told us, no mouse. You're not going to have a mouse. We're never going to do a mouse. Here's the mouse. And they did a great job of it. So, so
we're never going to do it till we do.
We're never going to do it till we do.
That's always been Apple's stance.
And certainly I would never say, we would want to have an iMac that's touch only and, doesn't have a pointing device. But, could you have both? Why not? And every now and then, I know sometimes I find myself reaching, oops, oh no, I can't touch that.
There it is.
Brian in the chat room makes a really good point. He said on this topic, so many young people, 20 years and younger, almost exclusively work with their devices via touch and voice. Your device needs to have them to use it, which is a very interesting point because there's nobody here that's 20 or younger. So
I beg to differ.
My right leg is.
Yeah.
Just the one.
So funny.
Yeah.
I always thought growing up, I was like, soon all the generations will be like me because my mom was a computer programmer and I grew up typing. And I was like, oh, soon I'll be, I'll act like all the young people. And then we moved to touchscreen and that's not how they work at all.
Smile and TextExpander are sponsoring this edition of MacVoices. Do you want to do something quick and easy to improve your productivity? Want something that is bulletproof that will improve the quality of your work? Are you looking for a utility that can integrate with just about any program on your Mac to make it better? If so, you're looking for TextExpander from Smile. TextExpander works pretty much everywhere on the Mac, inside just about any program. Desktop publishing, email, web publishing, browsers, task management applications, chat applications, the list goes on and on. Because all of those require text entry, and TextExpander helps you enter text quickly and accurately. Have a word, phrase, paragraph, or page that you need inserted regularly? TextExpander does it with a few keystrokes. Have a word that you misspell frequently? TextExpander can help you fix that so that it never happens again. Want to standardize wording to customer inquiries across your entire team? TextExpander is the answer. With almost no learning curve and massive payback on the time invested, you should be using TextExpander. Visit textexpander.com right now, download a free trial, and find out what so many of the productivity experts already know. TextExpander from Smile, the makers of world-class software. Thanks to Smile for being the longest-running sponsor of MacVoices.
So I'm just a weirdo.
Well, you're not a weirdo, Brittany, but I think, and I think we all.
Statistically speaking, I am, and that's fine.
Oh, well, I find that really interesting that we all get stuck on things. We all get stuck with the way we're doing things, and we think it's fine. And then somebody comes along with a new idea, and we should be embarrassed as technologists that we don't at least explore those ideas and say, hey, this is a new way of doing things. Jim, I think your point about what Apple has said in the past is right, but I'm not sure that Steve. I'm channeling Steve here, but I'm not sure he ever really intended that discussion to be for things like drawing and painting and very precise things. I don't think that the iPad was envisioned that way at that point. But as more people did things with it and saw what it could do, and the developers brought stuff out, there's a need for pressure sensitivity and 1 pixel lines and all that.
Chuck, I think you're right on that. I think that internally, when I say internally, I mean internally to Apple, not to me, that Apple was looking at the iPad as this experimental platform in a manner of speaking, because they knew it was going to be very versatile and very capable, but they didn't know how people were going to use it. So they didn't know in what ways it would be versatile and how people would expect it to be capable. And so it has evolved over years because of what Apple has learned about what the device is. Which is a really brave experiment to do. I mean, throwing out a product like that where you're waiting to see how your customer base actually uses the product and then evolve it from there.
Remember the biggest difference between the iPad and the iPad 2? It got a camera.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to assume there was also a significant processor improvement because the 1 got aged out way before the 2 for a lot of software.
Yeah,
yes,
I think it got it got an upgrade, but it was like the biggest difference between the two was like if you were trying to use one had a camera and one didn't have a camera. That was really it. Like,
but you're right. The
functionally, the first iPad didn't even have a camera. Yeah, and then it ended of life like immediately.
Yeah.
And then when they did add the camera, everybody was like, "No, no one will ever use a camera in an iPad.
Then they make fun of everybody.
That's so stupid."
Oh yeah.
Well, just because they do it now doesn't make it any less stupid.
So he's someone in front of you.
Okay, you've never sat through statistics class and needed to get the exact equation from the board while you were also typing your notes into the same document.
Yep.
Well, no, I haven't, but I have seen people at sporting events holding up this great big device to take pictures of
I don't
NASCAR
know where their
cars
cell
or
phone
something.
is. I can't help you there.
Can't see.
I'm sorry. It just
But it has a lot of practical uses.
It does. Well, that's why it's there.
Yeah.
But certainly not as a this is going to be the main camera that I drag around to take pictures.
But initially, like Jeff's saying, like nobody knew how they were going to use it. And as soon as they put it out into the world, like everybody had one for 20 minutes and went, why doesn't this have a camera?
Yeah, well, they got used to the camera on the iPhone. And Guy, I'm not defending the people that do that because they drive me crazy too. On the other hand, okay, the iPhone is an amazing device to do videos with.
It is,
except for the fact that even my 12 Pro Plus doesn't have nearly the size display on it that I would like for a viewfinder for my camera to have. Hence, using an iPad for a video camera.
So it is a really big deal.
It makes perfect sense.
People who are doing AR development, they frequently use iPads as demo models.
Sure, but it makes perfect sense for me to say, gee, I can pull out this and try to line up my photo, or I can take the other thing and boy, I've got a really nice big viewfinder here. I can get exactly the way I want it.
Yeah.
Computers by Anderson.
You know, I couldn't imagine using an iPad as a camera, like a video camera, until the day that I was at some conference. I don't remember which.
I was going to just jump in with CES, but it wasn't.
CES, WWDC, Mac. It doesn't matter. It was any of them, all of them. Yeah. But Jean McDonald had her iPad in this thing that looked kind of like a steering wheel.
I remember.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Chuck has it too.
I have one of those.
And when she showed me that, I couldn't help myself. I immediately took her iPad from her and ran up and down the lines wherever we were, just grabbing all this footage and handed it back to her. And I'm like, okay, I totally get where the iPad can be a very capable video camera. And at the same time, I will never take my iPad to say my niece's
birthday party
or swimming competition and hold that up and take photos.
Right.
Yeah, because then you would also have to use your iPad as a personal protection device. Beat off the people that are put your damn pad down. I can't see what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But like I know like all of us are familiar, but like Chuck's setup when he goes and interviews people at Dub or MacStock or other places, like that's a really nice setup. And then being able to have it sorted out. Having it, you got the tripod with the screen right at you and the filming and the audio and all of it, like it works really well. It's the right tool for the job. But like you were already going to have something on the tripod to do that. And so in that case, it comes in handy. I'm not saying you're wrong, Guy. I'm just pointing it out for people who don't know.
But these are special use cases, and this is hardware and software that is designed to use an iPad for those particular use cases. All I was talking about was people that suddenly just hold up this great big pad.
Oh, I know.
Take pictures.
That's ludicrous.
It is.
And it was ludicrous then. It's ludicrous now. But
maybe they all
something
have really
to be
crappy
said.
phones.
Yeah,
with
that's
an
what
iPad.
I was going to say.
Maybe, but like,
and it's a device they have with them.
The right tool for the job is important.
Your phone should be too.
And I'm with you on that one, Brittany. It should be the right tool for the job. And a lot of people decided that the iPad would be the right tool to take a picture or to shoot video in some instance. And so then I got a camera. And, I think that was probably a thing Apple didn't anticipate. So I think it's along those lines. And so like when I saw the Touch Bar, I didn't have one. I didn't have any plans to get one anytime soon. And I was very curious what kind of adoption it was going to get, because it seemed like an interesting idea. And so far it's still just an interesting idea.
Well, a lot of the use cases that I've been hearing tonight using the Touch Bar, you're all forgetting one thing. The active application has control of the Touch Bar. So if you wanted to set it up as like a camera switcher, for example, and you're controlling a Zoom call, the moment you switch to that Zoom call, you lose control of those cameras.
No, somehow better.
I didn't know that.
Somehow better Touch Tool allows you to configure things globally outside of an app. I don't know how they did that.
That's cool.
But better Touch Tool does not follow the model that you just said.
It is magic.
So it basically turns it into a Stream Deck.
Yeah.
Has anybody here seen Touch Bar Piano?
Yes.
If you've got a Touch Bar, check that out. It's so awesome. It's even polyphonic.
Touch Bar Pac-Man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What? I had no idea.
Seriously.
Touch Bar Pac-Man.
But the piano one, I think, is just so awesome. You can play piano on the Touch Bar, and it's got all these different voices. It sounds pretty good.
I'm holding off for Touch Bar Left 4 Dead 2.
I just remembered my biggest gripe with the Touch Bar. Can I tell you, Chuck?
Sure, Brittany. And we're going to give you the last shot because we're almost wrapping up here.
From the moment they were introduced, I thought, well, of course, there's going to be haptic feedback for accessibility.
On the Touch Bar?
It's not there. Still not there.
Yeah, that's a huge.
Now you have to hear the voiceover instead of feel the feely thing. When my grandfather was losing his sight, we programmed F4 because it was the keyboard he had. It had a nice edge to it, so he could feel where it was to make the screen speak to him. And
my iPhone doesn't.
I'm sure there's voiceover, but feeling is good too.
Yeah,
it'd be nice if the iPhone and the iPad did that, but they don't either.
Yeah. And they do use voiceover, but I feel like there was such a great opportunity for haptic feedback on the Touch Bar. And it seemed so obvious when they announced it. And then when they didn't say it, I was like, did you just forget to say that? And then it's still not there.
Yeah. It just seems like something Apple doesn't know how to do. They don't do it anywhere.
Well, we almost got it like with the knock on the back, like does a thing. So maybe there are other, that's another
haptics in the phone though that like tell you a thing is happening right now.
There are,
and that's
yeah,
and it could be really useful feedback.
Notifications for one.
7, I think iPhone 7.
Yeah,
for basic interactions.
Yeah.
So somehow you feel something in your finger when. I mean, I'm envisioning sliding the finger around and feeling something.
Play with the P-Calc dice app if you don't know what I'm talking about.
Happy click things.
Well, but then you're saying doesn't happen all over. Why doesn't it happen?
It's up to the developer.
Yeah. But dice dice is a fine example.
It's amazing. It feels like there's a dice tray in your hand.
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah. And if you if you on the home screen press the camera or the flashlight icon, you'll feel the click of that button.
I do.
Yep.
Yeah,
should. Everyone except Jim.
I'm a
feel it.
I think I don't know if does SE2 do it?
Okay, I did feel something, but it's so subtle that
you can turn that up in settings and accessibility.
You may have turned it down. Yeah, it was really sort of alarmingly agitating for a while. So I think mine is turned down a notch or two as well.
I guess I never even like
it drove people nuts at first. So everybody had to
I'm still not sure. Like, okay, so why camera as opposed to anything else?
There'll be a lot of built-in things that do it.
Oh, anything does it.
Yeah, and think about your trackpad too, Jim.
This is the quality content I come here for.
Yeah, think about your trackpad. I mean, if you take the batteries out of your trackpad, it's a flat piece of metal. But but once it connects,
they do a good job of that.
Yeah, I mean, that thing is moving when you touch it, and it is not. But it's amazing.
It's really interesting to use a turned off computer and play with the trackpad, and it's like so dead.
Yeah, and in fact, I've won a number of bets on that when they first came out, showing people and saying, that's moving, right? Of course, it's moving.
What kind of bars do you hang out in, Chuck?
I didn't say I hung out in bars, Brittany.
Just teasing.
He just goes there to make bets.
Sometimes you hang out in.
He's a MacBook shark.
Yeah, I hang out in Zoom. That's where I win my bets.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we got to wrap it up. We're going to head over time here, but I want to make sure folks know where they can find you. And for those of you who tuned in to hear about the data issue, we'll try to maybe do that next week because this conversation just ran into all kind of directions. So going back to my screen as usual, Mr. David Ginsburg, where can we find you?
Find me at In Touch with iOS at intouchwithios.com. Jeff Gamet will be on the show this week. And Mac to the Future Go livecast on Wednesday nights with Mr. Guy Serle and Warren Sklar, occasionally on the Mac show. And also you find me on Twitter at DaveG65. Thanks for having me.
Great. Thank you, David.
Thanks.
Mr. Guy Serle, hiding up in the right-hand corner of my screen.
Yes. Vertshark.com is the website. Guy@mymac.com is the email address. Vertshark and Mac Parrot are the Twitter handles. Mac to the Future on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. MyMac.com podcast for the last 10 plus years. And Guy's Daily Drive, where I drive in a car and record a podcast because why not?
Guy, are you the one that drove to Mac Stock last year?
No, I took a train last year, but I have done it before from the DC area. Yeah.
Yeah. So we met at Mac Stock.
Yeah.
So I probably met you too.
Who, me or
no,
Jim?
Yeah,
Jim.
I think we did.
Nobody admits to meeting Guy.
Remember?
No, I remember meeting him. But you look shorter on Zoom.
I
I've only met 2 of you IRL.
That's the best one. Jeff Gamet, where can we find you?
Well, Instagram and Twitter, I'm Jay Gamet, both places, and on a lot of different shows. This week I'll be doing this week in Iowa. You said it's this week, right? I just want to make sure I have it on the right. Okay, the reason I'm asking is
next
because
week on iOS.
Because
funny because it's also the title.
I have, yeah. I've had a couple instances in the past couple weeks where I had wrong dates for events, and people are like, "Hey, so where are you?" And I'm like, this I feel like should be a trick question, and yet at the same time I feel like I'm about to scramble to get back home. So anyhow, I'll stop talking now, and someone else can talk.
Thanks for being here, Jeff. It's always a pleasure. Mr. Frank Petrie.
Well, you can find me pummeling my iMac with my tape dispenser after the show, or you could go online to ympnow.com. Follow me on Twitter at fpetrie, and it was at PHRANKY for Instagram, right, Chuck?
Yep. That's correct. Yes, sir.
Chuck always knows everything. That's why I wash his cars.
And we want to make sure that we congratulate Frank. He has kept his hands off his keyboard. He hasn't touched it. And his video has stayed stable the whole time. So good job,
It's Frank. Doing things I tell people to go. I never heard of that.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for being here, Frank.
Oh, it was a pleasure.
Okay, here we go. Ms. Kelly Guimont.
10 seconds.
You can find me on the latest episode of Mac Break Weekly.
3, 4. Whoa, 3.
Ooh.
Wow.
Whoa.
That was it. Come on, Kelly. You got to
in our midst.
do some of the. Yeah, but you have to do some of the.
You were on today. I didn't even look.
I was on today.
You have to watch that.
Kelly, you should have just turned around and went.
The daily observations and all the other stuff. Yes.
Yeah, you should do that, Kelly.
And Leah was even there.
Yeah, I
was giving you permission to say more words, Kelly. Do it.
It wasn't even because Leah was on vacation this week. You can find me the rest of the time weekday mornings hosting the Mac Observer Daily Observations podcast. You can also find me over at The Incomparable talking about pop culture, usually Star Wars. And I do a show with Mike Rose called The After Show at aftershowpodcast.com.
Hi, Mike.
That's the Kelly we know and love. Good job. Thanks so much. Mr. Jim Ray, thank you for joining us. Even sorry we had a little trouble getting you in, but you got in. Where can folks find you?
My website is provue.com, PROVUE, not BIEW. And you can also find me on Twitter at ProVueJim, also spelled the same way.
Great. Thanks for coming. Last but absolutely not least, our favorite mermaid, Ms. Brittany Smith. Brittany, it's good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Where are you at, princess?
Me. So I was going to announce here for the very first time publicly my ADHD time management guild with another colleague who's also an ADHD coach. So if you or someone in your life is impacted by ADHD, we're offering a group that includes some one-on-one coaching and lots of really cool, awesome content and stuff like that. So you can find that at conquer.consulting, which is my website. And I'm ADD Liberator on Twitter. That's where I say all my nerdy techie things. So thank you for having me, Chuck.
Hey, thank you. And congratulations on that, Brittany. That's very cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, very cool.
That's great.
It'll be
That's
awesome.
great. So folks,
Kelly's
if you have someone in your life, or if it's you with ADHD, you want to get in touch with Brittany and get a little bit of wisdom, shall we say?
Is there pizza?
Sanity. There's probably some sanity.
Pizza.
There's some what?
Sanity.
Pizza at the meeting.
Pizza, sanity.
It's on Zoom, like everything else in the last year. So bring your own pizza. Yeah.
That's the federal laws. It's got to be on Zoom.
I think so.
Yeah.
It does seem like it at times, doesn't it? Wow. Guys, thanks so much. I definitely want to thank the folks in the chat room who've been throwing a couple questions and comments our way.
Yay.
Thank you so
Read their
much for
names.
joining us.
Thank you, chat room.
Yes,
Hey,
we
read all their names.
We really, well, I don't have a roll call, but I see Craig, I see Brian, I see Paul, T Rose Lover, so Cletus.
Wait,
and then, of
Cletus
course,
here?
Hi, Cletus.
This is here.
Hi, Cletus.
Yes.
Cletus.
Hey,
Yeah.
man.
and so there, and of course there are the inevitable participants here on the show that are also in those chat rooms. So thanks everyone for doing part of that. That's it for this time. I'm Chuck Joyner. We do this 8 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday. That's 5 p.m. Pacific. MacVoices Live. We'd love to have you either on Facebook or on YouTube. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.